Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 9 a.m. and you are listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. And it is Thursday, the 5th of September. Good morning to you all. Hope that you're doing well. East side, west side, whatever part of the city you are in. As you can see behind me, we have the 4-day outlook for you. Once again, the weather comes from the National Weather Service of Chicago, delivered to you here on Good Morning, Aurora. Now, they started us off with tonight. 64 degrees for the nighttime high tonight. 56 degrees for the nighttime low. No rain predicted, no thunderstorms, so that's going to feel pretty good. Now, also, we've got our Thursday report here showing our daytime of an 88-degree high today. Now, that's going to get pretty hot. Some of y'all might start barbecuing. If you do, send your plates to Good Morning Aurora. 84 degrees for the daytime low. There is some rain predicted tonight. I guess they got two graphs here to show us, and that is a 40 to 50% chance of thunderstorms. That looks like it'll take us into tomorrow. Check it out, 74 degrees for the daytime high, 69 degrees for the daytime low. That high swim risk that we've talked about all since last week still persists. So for those swimmers out there on Lake Michigan, please be safe. 20 to 30 degree chance of rain during the daytime tomorrow, so please be aware of that as well. 74 degrees for the high, 69 for the low once again. Tomorrow night, 53 degrees for the nighttime low, 43 degrees for the nighttime high. The high swim risk persists into the evening. Evening swimmers, be aware of that. Lake effect showers for northwest Indiana are a potential as well. Saturday, moving on, 67 degrees for the daytime high, 64 degrees for the daytime low. Lake effect showers, high swim risk, the whole shebang, a little bit of sun, and even some rain predicted as well. So that's going to be the first humdinger of the entire weekend. Saturday night now, check it out. 52 degrees for the nighttime high, 42 degrees for the nighttime low. High swim risk as well. A little bit of clouds, no rain predicted. We'll take that. Sunday, moving on, 74 degrees for the daytime high, 69 degrees for the daytime low. Now check out Sunday. Bright and sunny, no rain emojis, no clouds or anything. I'm looking forward to that very much so. Hope that you guys are too. Check out Sunday night, 57 degrees for the nighttime high, 47 degrees for the nighttime low. Let's recap today. A daytime high of 88 degrees and a daytime low of 84 degrees. Enjoy the sun, enjoy the beauty of downtown Aurora today. Tomorrow, 74 degrees for the daytime high, 69 degrees for the daytime low. The high swim risk does persist, 20 to 30% chance of showers. Moving on to Saturday, 67 degrees for the high, 64 degrees for the daytime low. And last but not least, of course, Sunday, 74 degrees for the high, 69 degrees for the daytime low. That is your weather report here on Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. We have a great show for you guys today. My guest is Jessica Watkins, policy advocate for the IBIA, the Illinois Black Advocacy Initiative. Let's do it. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. Good morning, Aurora. The time is 9:05 a.m. You're listening to and watching Good Morning, Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Thursday, new guest, new initiative, new knowledge, and a new report that we've come to familiarize ourselves with. My guest today is Jessica Watkins, policy advocate for the Illinois Black Advocacy Initiative. How you feeling?
I feel nervous but good.
All right. Grab your mic, pull it in a little bit to you so we can have double the friends. Better. Glad that we have you with us today.
Thank you.
So we are going to talk about a number of things, the Family Regulation Report, amongst others. But to start off with, please introduce yourself and your position, what you do, and what the IBIA is about and standing for.
Cool. Love to. So my name is Jessica Watkins. I am the policy and advocacy strategist at the organization Illinois Black Advocacy Initiative. And we are a new organization in the state, started in 2021, really as a response to COVID and all that highlighted and brought to the surface in terms of another thing that disproportionately impacted the Black communities in Illinois throughout the whole state. So through that, some philanthropic leaders throughout the state got together, Black philanthropic leaders got together and formed this statewide Black-centered policy organization. It's the first of its kind in the state. And we have a statewide focus on what do Black communities in Illinois need, what are most impacting our communities, what can be changed through policy on a statewide level, what systems are keeping us from thriving in ways that other communities in Illinois are. And it's just a fact that we are. There's a recent report about the wealth disparities in the state, and the numbers are just like egregious and disheartening. So anyway, our organization focuses on what do Black Illinoisans need, what can we do to help advance those changes, who do we need to connect, who do we need to be talking to, XYZ. And one of the main ways we build our power is through convening Black-led, Black-centered organizations throughout the state. And we convene on different issues that are impacting us, and we grow new issues every single day because there's a lot of issues. But some of our main ones right now, we are convening around the Illinois state budget for Black communities. I could go into this for a while, but obviously the state budget really impacts Black communities as it impacts all communities throughout the state. But there's not many groups advocating for statewide change within the Black budget, or within
the budget for Black folks. Yeah.
Right. I wish we had a Black budget. But so that's one of our issue areas. We're also convening Black-led, Black-serving orgs throughout this state on just agenda building, collectivizing our power, seeing what the issues are throughout the entire state. Not just Chicago, not just Cook County, but what's going down south, what's going on up north, all around. So we're convening groups around that as we do landscape analyses and determine what are some agenda items that are really impacting us that we need to then advocate for through legislation. And okay, I'm talking kind of fast.
That's a lot, though.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I was like, let me get through it all. But
I do wonder, and I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
No, please do.
But what's it been like, for some of those northern Illinois communities, and then you're down south, Cairo, Illinois, Mound City, kind of almost in Missouri communities. Has it been difficult building consensus on issues between the two, or what's that been like? What have those discussions been like?
Yeah, you know what? We're totally not even at the consensus building place yet. We are at the place of just trying to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
So we're at the place of meeting with and contacting local leaders, whether that be church leaders, nonprofit leaders, electeds, of course. And we're at the place of really figuring out what is impacting these communities and our communities, and what issues are the same and which ones are different.
What's the top three things that people have been saying?
Oh gosh, that people have been saying. Well, I don't want to say that because, yeah, I can't say.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say we're not even there yet. Um, yeah, we're not even there yet because
Okay.
there's so many.
Well, we know that and the data has shown, just like you mentioned, the data has shown that COVID had many negative effects for communities, particularly African American communities, particularly communities that already experienced a food desert, for example, with just food nutrition already. For those communities that were facing a food desert, that got worse.
Right.
For those people who were unhoused, that got worse. So I know the work that you guys are doing really is important. And I see the list of organizations that you guys work with, the Cabrini Green Legal Aid, shout out to them, Black Roots Alliance and others. The work is being done, and it's very good to see.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for addressing that about how COVID increased all the different struggles that we were already facing. And that's what was so crazy in the moment, where it's just like, oh, we are already behind in all these ways. We are already impacted most by all the bad systems and all the things that are keeping us down and not from thriving. And then COVID came, and it was like, okay, here's
Right.
a little lighter fluid.
Right.
And so that was really why like the org started, and realizing that and needing to address that on a statewide level through policy change is really why the founders started this.
I see, or I've noticed that a lot more of our legislators, a lot more of them are identifying or becoming familiar with the issues. I've seen some workshops and some
Nice.
talks, I think on the local level here, State Rep Barb Hernandez, for example, talking about the impact of, the underhoused, the underinsured, and things like that. So while I see the issues being talked about by the correct people, my question is the work of changing legislation. Talk about that for a minute. What's the sausage making process like for that? With that.
Well, it's hard because everyone has their issues that they are already championing and
Speaking up for,
focusing
focusing
on.
on, right.
Right. So it's hard. I mean, I don't want to say it's hard because it's like we're doing it.
Right.
But it's coming in and presenting them with new issues and new data on pieces of issues that they're already focusing on, but then drawing their attention to how this is impacting the Black community.
Right.
So I think that's like been a big part so far, where it's like, okay, like you're championing food security. Okay, now we're gonna come in and tell you what you can do to help the Black community within this larger fight. Because no matter what, in most of the fights, the Black community is needing the most support, or is in like, so it has been put in, let me clarify, such a position that we need those extra remediation efforts
Right.
in order for our communities to thrive. So what we have been doing is bringing the Black community perspective into the issues, where it's like, there's countless issues that everyone's working on, but then we're able to say like, oh, you're working on
Gun safety, for example.
right. It's like, okay, well, gun safety, it's like everybody only talks about Black communities with that. But it's like, if I talk about family regulation system, where it's like, oh, you're working on child welfare, family regulation system. Oh, let me tell you guys how this is most impacting Black communities.
Right.
Or like what you can do to help that would have the most impact on Black communities. One of the things we work on is we joined coalition on higher ed funding.
Okay.
And that bill, so why we joined the coalition, and our perspective and what we bring to the advocacy tables is, okay, we have, this like everyone's focusing on higher ed, a lot of reports have come out, woo, and now let us tell you guys what to do to best help Black people and Black communities within this fight.
I wonder, is there ever the time or the person or even the individual who has been able to really, make that change or make it happen kind of, for communities and make, overcome those hurdles kind of shorter than all this legislation and things like that? Are there those stakeholders in the community who we've been able to identify who have been able to say, like, hey, listen, I am on the board of this organization, or I do have an executive role in this company? The answer is yes, we can do this, and let's start now.
Yes, absolutely. There are Black leaders and organizers throughout the entire state who are doing the good work. Okay. And that is from individuals to organizations, all across the state, on the ground, filling in the gaps that the state is not, and that need to be filled within their communities, doing the hard work day after day. And where we come in as an assist is, oh, you guys are working on this? Well, we also know about this org in this part of the state who's working on this, or we also know this leader who's working on this. You guys should link up. Let's link you guys up. If there's any support IBIA can provide, we can, do some research. We could do some writing. There's other things. So to answer your question, yes, our state has so many people, so many Black people on the ground filling in all the holes that we see.
And that's what I think has been, and again, the work that you guys are doing is cementing that, but that's something that I've seen increase and get better over the past few years, is that participation by those communities of color themselves. They're, we're occupying more spaces than we ever did before. So that makes me happy to hear that, because you see people, African Americans in places where they never were before.
Yeah, we got to get this together.
Counties and all that. You're like, wow, Pulaski County, Boone County, how about that?
Which is nice, because it's like, we are such a big part of this state, and in order for the entire state to thrive, we have to thrive. You know what I mean? Like, the state cannot be at its maximum potential when Black communities are not thriving. It just won't happen. And so the fact that we are lifting ourselves up and like, hold up, what can we do? It's because we have to, and the state will benefit from it, and they're welcome.
The time is 9:18 a.m. You are listening to and watching Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. Good morning to you all if you're just now joining us. Zor Zapata, good morning to you, dear friend. Josue Pais, good morning to you. Shout out Harry and Beast Dog Parlor. Naomi Regino, good morning to you. Corey Ingram is here. Simone Dolores, Stacy Cardona, Tracy Duran, Jocelyn Gregoire, and Daniel Calderon. Good morning to all of you fantastic people. The Illinois Family Regulation System, IFRS. Let's talk about how this got started. Its genesis. I feel like we touched on it a little bit, but what is it, and what does it look like when it's firing on all cylinders?
Okay, so when we say family regulation system, what we're referring to is most known as the child welfare system. Okay. And in Illinois, it's DCFS. Right. So really, it's just it's like that's what people associate it with, and that's who's in charge of it here. But what this system is, it was intended to, or what it is supposed to be doing, is protecting children from their families who cannot provide for their well-being, XYZ. That's its intended goal and what it's supposed to be doing. In practice, what is happening a lot is the Black community is being brought into yet another punitive system that increases state surveillance. It drains their resources. It quite literally separates mothers from their children, and it does all of this without proper due process. And that's the long and short of it. And it's a hard thing because we all associate the child, like we all grew up and learned about child welfare and DCFS as a protective system and that sort of thing. And at its best case, that's, I'm sure what it does, but what is happening mostly in practice is not that.
Does DCFS need to be done away with, or can it be reformed?
You know, that's a tough question. I have a personal answer to that I won't give, but
Sure.
from our organizational perspective, we are figuring out what we need to do right in this moment to make it better for Black communities.
Sure. The reason why I asked that is because I've heard many. I work in housing.
Okay.
So I've worked with a lot of people who are at many different stages of that, perhaps being evicted. So I've heard many criticisms of DCFS. I asked about the done away with or the reform part because I've heard people say it could be done away with, and its resources and staff allocated to perhaps other departments or procedures who could potentially do better. But I've also heard that the direction and potential leadership, that being changed, and perhaps the culture of any organization, but that being changed is perhaps what is needed, or a basic rewriting, or not a basic rewriting, but rewriting the laws and things like that to make the system work, make the organization work better with the system.
Right.
So that's where I was going with that.
Right. And let me tell you, we're hitting all fronts. So the new director, she really has come in and she addresses especially the racial disproportionality in the system. She is coming in as a change maker within the system. Also, we're on the legislative front. We're going to be filing legislation. And also, on your first point, I think that's what I want to talk about the most is the community support. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is if a parent is alleged to not be able to take care of their child, if our priority as a society is to keep families together, which I think most people would agree with, mm-hmm. should be a priority for society. If that's our priority, then if we as a state are saying this mother cannot take care of her child, the next step in that should be, well, what does this mother need to take care of her child? And does this state have resources for it? And the answer of does the state have resources for it is yes.
Oh, yeah.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
So then it should be, what can we do to help this mother to help the family be back together? If we're saying it's a problem because if from our eyes as the state, she can't take care of her kid, then what does the state need to do to help? Because that should be arguably a personal decision anyway in most instances, but that community support is linked to DCFS. So when parents come for mental health support, like if a mom is stressed and goes to the hospital to get a mental health eval, now she getting wrapped up in the system. If a mother goes to the hospital because her child had a fall or some weird rash or bruise showed up on her kid, they go to the hospital. That doctor is interviewing her and then turning that info over to DCFS. She's like, all I'm here to do is figure out what this bruise is about. I'm giving honest answers to all your questions because we all want to figure out what's happening. And now it's an investigation launched on me without any notice that all of these systems were tied together. And that's what I think is frustrating and weird about the system, where it's wait a second, we need to be supporting moms. We don't need to have little subtle surveillance systems throughout different touch points that then might link them to a punitive system.
Well, I think that to that point, I think that this is where the communities right now are performing in the present tense better than the organization perhaps of DCFS, because I'm thinking just locally right now, and mm-hmm. I can think of a brother I know who does a community fridge.
Cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and they're popping up everywhere. That's linked with a coffee shop that's doing great things in the community. So I think that I have a lot of hope that, just on this issue of at least what we're talking about now, I have a lot of hope that the change is being made and going to get better and going to be better while we collectively as individuals here work on the massive system and changing that. I feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and I'm not. I hope that doesn't sound defeatist.
No.
Because I feel like I've seen organizations that I won't name that were crappy get better
Cool.
with new staff and getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. And I've also seen in tandem with that the rise of just the local organizations, local nonprofits, and partner services doing the work, getting that done anyway. So I, there wasn't really a question wrapped up in that, but I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it happen, and I feel like change is coming.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Through the groups like yours as well, helping out.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think like the more we talk about these systems and all the systems, and the more we talk about what we need as a community, the more we're able to like plug those gaps, which is why it's like exciting work, and it's an exciting moment that we are talking about this and bringing together our communities from, around the state, where it's like, what do we need? Where it's like we could figure out how to solve our problems, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that happens at different, that happens through system change, and that also happens through like your next door neighbor, watching your kid while you walk down the block. It's like all those things. And this talking about what we need and what we're suffering with, I think is a really good start to that, because then it's like, now we know what to do.
No, I'm totally feeling it. The Family Regulation System Report, the link of that, thank you, Brother Nick, the link to that so that folks in the public can view that is in the chat. Please check that out at your leisure and read the Illinois Black Advocacy Report on Family Regulation System. Stacey Cardona says, yes, I work at a law firm with family law, and the cases come through here with DCFS is usually single moms who don't have the help and took it upon herself to get mental health, and it seems people look down on that, if that makes sense. Well, yeah, it does make sense. That's kind of what we're talking about, I'm just stuck in the housing world, but yeah, it totally makes sense, Stacey.
Can I respond to that? Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Like a parent goes, and a parent knows what they need, so they're going to get that support, which is the responsible thing to do, and then they're getting hit with this. And I think the other thing that I wanted to respond to was the stigma around the system is also a huge thing, which is why I'm happy that we're talking about it, because we were ingrained to think DCFS is looking out for children. When DCFS enters the life of a mother, you automatically looking side-eyed at the mother because you're like, oh, DCFS is here. What are you doing? Right. And it is so much stigma attached to it, which, like, can you imagine? It's like you need mental help as a mother, and then you get bombarded by DCFS, and now everyone in your community is wondering what you could have done differently.
Oh yeah,
it's like this is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if you got a loose dog in your yard and the police show up, all the neighbors think it's something going, like, oh, what's going on?
Right.
And it's just a cat in the tree. Like,
right, and that's exactly what happens with DCFS and that stigma. So thank you for raising that up in the chat.
Yes, very much so. So the time is 9:29 a.m. We got here quick. Yikes.
Yeah. Listen, if you ever want me to come back and talk more about it, I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to ask one thing before we land this airplane hold there real quick. How can we help you? How can we and the listeners and the public help yourself in the IBIA?
Okay. Specifically on the family regulation system, you can help by talking about the system to anyone who will listen. Tell them what you learned. Tell them what you heard about it, because we want to just spread awareness. But as a larger thing, as an organization, I would direct everyone to our website. We have a lot of writings on there about different issues around this state, and we're building that writing portfolio every day. And we have a listserv. Please sign up for that. We blast out newsletters. We host convenings. So look on the website, see what interests you, and reach out. Send us an email.
Yeah. On that note, too, as many of our listeners have heard me say repeatedly, if you or someone you know needs this information at a later time, feel free to send us a message on Facebook or email us at goodmorningaurora@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to put you in contact with Jessica and the Illinois Black Advocacy Initiative. Stacey Cardona, thanks for that mention as well about what's going on in your life. And Jocelyn Gregoire says, good morning and such great information. Appreciate that, Jocelyn, very much so. The time is 9:30 a.m. This was a good one.
Thank you.
We did that.
Thank
we did
you.
This. So thank you for this and this report as well, too. I'm going to check this out at my leisure. And I saw a couple things when I was skimming that I do want to ask about, and I think they'd be really good topics for a second interview. The time is 9:30 a.m. The show ends on a positive note. What is your message today for the people of Illinois?
My message is let's have some fun today. It's a Thursday. September just started. Summer's wrapping up. It's getting the temperature's changing.
It is.
Which could maybe bring our moods down if we let it. But my message would be, I feel like we should have some fun today, Illinois. And I'm going to lean into that personally because I was not feeling that good yesterday. And I'm like, no, it's Thursday. Let's have some fun.
Okay.
That's my message.
When you came here, you were nervous. How you feeling now?
I feel good now. I'm like, wait, can we do this all the time?
See that?
I was nervous.
All right, the time is 9:31 a.m. I want to say thank you all very much for tuning in, watching, supporting, listening to, sharing, and following us here at Good Morning Aurora, the second largest city's first daily news podcast. This information, once again, if you need any of the links, they are in the chat, but you can also feel free to reach out to us at another time at your leisure, and we'd be happy to connect you or share the information with you. Tomorrow, we've got another great installment of Breakfast at Bloomhaven, so get ready to see that. Get ready to see assisted living and everything that's going on at that fantastic campus at 301 Weston Avenue. There is no Buenos Dias Aurora following our show today. Gabby, Fox Valley Hands of Hope, thank you for all that you do for our team and the city. I will see you guys tomorrow. Be blessed. Take care of yourself and each other.